Today, authorities attempt to arrest South Korea's president. European foreign ministers meet Syria's new leader in Damascus, and Israeli airstrikes continue on the Gaza Strip. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday, the 3rd of January 2025. A near 6-hour standoff took place in South Korea on Friday, as investigators unsuccessfully attempted to detain the country's impeached president, Yoon Yeol, who was under investigation for insurrection related to his botched martial law attempt last month. Yoon is the first sitting South Korean president to face an arrest warrant, and while presidents are immune from virtually all criminal charges, they are not immune from charges of insurrection. On Friday, officials from the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, or CIO, and police officers first had to evade hundreds of Yoon's own supporters outside his compound, who had vowed to try and block his arrest. Officers then had to face down presidential security forces inside the presidential compound in Seoul, where they were outnumbered 2-1. According to one official, more than 10 buses or cars were blocking the way, and some 200 people with the Presidential Security Service or military were forming layers of walls, making it impossible to get past. The CIO said in a statement that we determined that executing the detention warrant would be practically impossible due to the continued confrontation, and suspended the execution of the warrant out of concern for the safety of on-site personnel caused by the resistance. We plan to decide on the next steps following a review. The National Police Agency said it planned to investigate the chief and deputy chiefs of the Presidential Security Service on suspicion of obstructing official duty. The CIO said it would ask Acting President Choi Sang-mok to order the Presidential Security Service to cooperate with the warrant. An interesting subplot to the whole saga is the fact that some of Yoon's supporters seem to have been inspired by Donald Trump. A number of Yoon supporters that gathered at his residence to try and block his arrest had US flags alongside South Korean ones, and signs in English saying, "Stop the Steal," which was a slogan popular with election-denying Trump supporters back in 2020. Similarly, Yoon's rhetoric during and after the martial law debacle has at times echoed Trump. For example, Yoon claimed to be targeting so-called anti-state forces and cast doubt on the integrity of South Korea's April 2024 parliamentary election, which his Conservative Party lost heavily. Trump himself is yet to comment on the events in South Korea, but we'll have to wait and see if that changes once he takes office later this month. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing on Monday. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Bird, then consider joining the TLDR Daily Membership Program for just $1.99. Moving to Syria now, where foreign ministers from Europe have arrived in the capital Damascus, in an attempt to show the new administration that a new relationship between the Middle Eastern nation and Europe is possible. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot and German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock are expected to meet with Ahmed al-Sharaa, formerly known as Abu Mohammed al-Jolani, the leader of HTS, later today. In anticipation of the meeting, Baerbock explained that any such new relationship could only be forged if the new Syrian society gives all people, regardless of ethnic or religious group, a place in the political process, as well as rights and protections. While this is at least a sign that the West could accept the new Syrian administration, Western countries have not yet lifted sanctions that have been placed on Syria under the Assad regime, and HTS remains a designated terror group. The only significant change that's been made since HTS ousted Assad is that al-Sharaa no longer has a $10 million bounty on his head. Yesterday, Israeli airstrikes killed at least 68 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip, hitting Hamas police officers but also an Israeli-declared humanitarian zone. The Director General of Gaza's police department and his aide were killed in the strike. Hamas's Interior Ministry said in a statement that by killing Gaza's Director General of Police, Israel is insisting on spreading chaos in the enclave and deepening the human suffering of its citizens. Thursday's death toll was among the highest of recent weeks. Many Palestinians in the humanitarian zone have been huddling there in damp winter weather over the past few weeks. Another airstrike killed at least 8 people in Deir al-Balah, central Gaza. Among those killed were members of local committees that helped to secure aid convoys. In southern Gaza, 5 policemen were killed in eastern Khan Yunis, while at least 24 were killed, including children, in refugee camps in central Gaza. On X, Philippe Lazzarini, head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, wrote that as a new year begins, the world got another reminder that there is no humanitarian zone, let alone a safe zone. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said he had authorized a delegation from the Mossad Intelligence Agency, the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency, and the military to continue negotiations in Qatar towards a ceasefire deal. Germany's probable next chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is pushing for an EU-US trade deal after President-elect Donald Trump takes office, which he says would benefit both American and European consumers and avert a dangerous tariff spiral. It comes amid rising concerns in Europe that Trump's America First policies could negatively impact European economies. Trump has already said that, under his leadership, the US would introduce tariffs on EU goods such as cars and machinery unless the EU buys more American oil and gas. If that does happen, Germany, which is a major exporter of cars and machinery, would be most likely to suffer. A study by the German Economic Institute in Cologne last year predicted that the German economy would lose up to 180 billion euros over a second Trump term as a result of a US-EU trade war. To prepare for this eventuality, Merz says the EU should concentrate on restoring its declining competitiveness rather than respond with its own tariffs on US goods. The right response is to react with innovation and good products, he said, adding that European business would be challenging with Trump in the White House.
We're heading into 2025 with a whole new group of politicians, business leaders, and influential people. The question is then, who will come out on top? Who is the world's most influential person? That's what we're trying to find out with our official most influential person list, which we need your help with. So if you want to help us decide on who the most influential person in the entire world is, then you can click the link in the description to cast your own ballot for your personal top 10, helping to shape the overall ranking. And your vote is super important, but voting closes on January 15th. So do your democratic duty and cast your ballot for the world's most influential person. Also, if you're wondering why we're doing this, it's for the next issue of our magazine Too Long. That's because our next issue will contain the entire list, as well as fascinating articles about the top 25. Those won't just be boring profiles about each of the people either. There'll be interesting stories about who these people really are, where their power truly resides, and how they wield their influence. If you want to pre-order a copy of the magazine, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. Oh, and if you pick up a premium copy of the magazine, you'll also get access to our internal awards ceremony, where the team will first learn and react to your votes live. Plus, you'll also get to watch TLDR team members sit down to discuss their own personal lists, fight it out, and try and agree for once. You'll also get access to our behind-the-scenes podcast, The Bullpen, and get your name printed in the thank you section of the magazine. Anyway, to find out more, cast your vote, or order a copy, you can click the various links in the description.